All right, everyone. Today is our second in our Nintendo RPG category, and today we're talking Super Mario RPG. Tom, why don't you give us your initial thoughts here?
Yeah, so like last week, I was also excited to play this game because I had never played it before, and it, seemed to have a lot of praise on the internets. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but this game was very, very average to me, and yeah, we'll get into why, but I'll just leave it at that for now.
All right, Pete?
Yeah, based on the way Tom approached his initial thoughts, I think we maybe had similar feelings. I don't know, sometimes you could play a game and it's really awesome, sometimes you play a game and it's terrible, and then sometimes you play a game that's just kind of fine, has fun parts, but mostly forgettable, and that's how I would classify Mario RPG.
All right, and I'll just say that I had played this back on the virtual Wii category, a system that they had, and I really liked it back in the day, and I was really excited to play it again. And when we chose it for this category, I will say the second time around I played the Switch, the new released Switch version, and I wasn't left with as enamored a feeling as I did back in the day. So I'm coming from a slightly different perspective, having played it, the initial one, the SNES version, or the SNES version, as annoying people say.
Was it Super Nintendo?
Yes. Super Mario RPG, The Legend of the Seven Stars, was initially released for the Super Nintendo back in May 1996, May 13th, 1996 in North America, to be exact. It was released on the Wii's Virtual Console in 2015. It was included in the Super NES Classic Edition in 2017. And a remake was then made for the Nintendo Switch in 2023. That released on November 17th, 2023. So, for those that don't know, just a little spiel about the show. I'm Anthony, and along with my two brothers here, Pete and Tom, this is Brothers in Boss Battles, a video game showdown. And here is how the show works. Each of us picks a game that fits within a genre or category. The first 3 episodes of our groupings, we will discuss one of those games, one per episode, in detail, talking about story, gameplay, effect on the gaming community, and more. The 4th episode in that grouping is our Brodown episode, where we will have a courtroom-style debate, each of us defending the game of choice while attacking the other two, and ultimately declaring a winner. All right, we gave our initial thoughts, somewhat lukewarm, it sounded like from the beginning there. Anyone want to elaborate?
I could start, and I do want to make the distinction that I did play the remake version as well on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
As did I.
Yeah, so I'm the only one with the Super Nintendo experience on this. So it was on the Wii Virtual Console, but it was the same game.
Yeah, and we'll get into some of the differences later on. But yeah, I mean, to me, like, it was fun at times, and I didn't hate playing it. It's just I don't know. One thing that stood out to me was just like the production value on the game. It just seemed very like made by an indie developer, or.
But it wasn't, though.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying. And it's like like reusing animations, and like there was always that.
I have it right here, holding it up.
Where Mario would like hold his arms up, and they just kept replaying that one, and like looking up in this, like it just it felt very like they were reusing assets and stuff, and yeah, I don't know, and just for like a full price $60 game, I don't know, it just left me feeling bad. Like I played like indie RPGs that felt more developed than this game, and for half the price.
I mean, it's sort of a short game too, especially by RPG standards, but really by any standards. It was about maybe 12 hours.
Yeah, 12-ish.
So you're not getting a ton of bang for your buck.
Yeah, but I mean, to the game's credit, there was a post game after you beat the final boss. There, some extra content to do that would have
Yeah.
bolstered the amount of hours. So I give them props for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's cool about it is that so they tried to break into the North American market because this game was actually big in Japan. And well, let me rephrase that. RPGs are very big in Japan, and they felt that this game, Nintendo teaming with Square, would really be good for them in the North American market. And this game sort of did sell well compared to other RPGs that had that medieval look to it, and just adding Mario characters, I think, was seen as sort of a surefire way to get people to buy it, even if the market wasn't
That's
too.
a strategy used by Nintendo to this day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
but I mean, they made it accessible. Like,
yeah,
it wasn't very complicated for an RPG. Like, it didn't have all those complicated mechanics, and
hmm
I liked how it incorporated some traditional Mario mechanics into the game.
yeah.
Like, the jumping.
Right.
Like,
The
there's a little bit of platforming, and
yeah. I mean, you have the fire flower, and so that's true. There is some platforming, very
yeah,
limited, but yeah,
yeah, and there was like some races, the Yoshi racing, and
yeah.
yeah, that was kind of lame.
no, yeah, I'm not saying that was the most fun thing. I'm just saying it was.
Yeah, yeah. There were
Uh, no, no.
some puzzles.
Yeah,
But
that's
okay, so, but to the point, I wanted to just
Yeah, yeah,
kind
go
of accentuate the point of including Mario characters. Like, I really do feel like if this was just sort of an unknown world with unknown characters, this game would be an absolute disaster. Like, so unsuccessful.
well, it would be I guess, a poorer RPG because it really, like, if you really boil it down, it's like it was very easy. I mean, that's one of my complaints. But and we'll get into why it was easy, but I don't know. I remember loving it when I played on the Wii Virtual Console, and then, like, this time around, it was just sort of like little bit of a chore to get through. And not that it was difficult. It's like, so it wasn't a chore because it was difficult. It was a chore just because it was like it seemed just like time I wanted to be playing something else.
Yeah, I wonder if you went back and played the original now,
Yeah.
how you would feel.
I honestly don't know that there's many differences. One of the big differences, and I get, well, just just instead of beating around the bush, I mean, there's auto saving instead of having to find a block. Usually, you had to find a block that you would jump on, and in the new one, there's auto saving, so it like saves every
And-
2 seconds.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much every 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I think it's every time you change a screen, which is very often.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so it's like,
Yeah, so that definitely adds to the
yeah, it's
lack
just
of a difficulty.
yeah. I mean, and it was already easy, but then that added to it, and that was a big change between the Super Nintendo and the Switch version. So,
Yeah. They added a lot of things to make it easier. Like even the in-battle character switching.
yes,
You could switch your character and then
Right.
you still could attack on that same turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like even other RPGs don't do that. Like, you have to, if that's your move that turn if you want to switch
Right.
out a character. So that was it's so easy.
The triple attacks was new also.
Oh, right.
Triple team ups, and also
Yeah.
I think like they show like an indicator for when your timed attacks.
Right. So for those that don't know, it's sort of like we had covered the South Park Stick
The
of
stick
Truth.
of truth.
Yeah. And in that one, when you do an attack or defend an attack, if you press a button at a certain time, it will like lessen the attack or completely null the attack or boost your attack. So null if you're on defense, getting hit, and extra attack if you're attacking. And like in this game, there's an exclamation point that comes over their head when you're supposed to hit it. So it's not like a guaranteed thing, but it made it pretty easy to do. And then that just was, walloped a lot of the characters pretty easily.
Yeah, my understanding of that mechanic was that if you missed it a few times, the exclamation point would come back, but then if you hit it a few times,
Yeah, it would.
go, disappear.
Yeah,
Okay.
I read that after, and I was wondering about that when I was playing the game. 'Cause I was
Yeah.
like, why is it only coming up sometimes?
Yeah. Oh, that's why. Okay. Yeah, that did make sense.
But I actually don't mind that one because there's no training every time you get a different
Yeah.
ability or whatever.
Yeah.
So there
Yeah.
should be some indication for you to know this is when I'm supposed to do the attack or press the button. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't mind that either.
Yeah. I just wanted to go a little bit about the game itself. So you kind of start off thinking this is going to be before I start with that, I'll just give our spoiler warning. We might talk, or we will talk a little bit about the story along with other, major gameplay elements. So if you feel you don't want this spoiled, go right ahead. Though some of these points I'm making now are going to be sort of early on in the game anyway. But it kind of starts off, you think it's going to be a traditional Mario story where Bowser takes Princess Peach and you have to go save her. So it starts off that way in like the first level, but then it turns out that this giant sword and the Smithy Gang kind of take over Bowser's castle and scatter everyone from there. And they break this the Star Bridge that sort of connects the world and allows
that sounds about right.
like
Yeah,
dreams to happen and stuff like that. So it's sort of, a far-fetched, sort of somewhat kiddish story. But anyway, so it's now it's your job to collect the 7 stars and defeat Smithy.
That's such a strange enemy, like a giant sword.
Yeah. Well, it was also all those like different characters. Like there was a yellow one, a red one, a blue one.
Those were the like Power Ranger ones, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think they were called Axum Rangers.
Were they really?
Axum, AXEM.
Not Schmauer Rangers.
No, no. But I actually had noted that down. I thought that was the most difficult fight in the whole game against all of them.
Yeah.
Probably close. Yeah, I guess. But anyway, what I feel is
Didn't have much
there weren't too
competition.
many.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I will say that because you guys have been saying plenty already how easy the game was, but some of the boss fights, if if you didn't time that defensive block properly, like they would take a huge chunk of HP out.
Yeah, the bosses weren't easy.
And like especially
You're
before
right.
you have Peach, like for like
the healing.
the group fight, like you heal all 3 characters at once.
Group hug.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I did die a few times, and maybe this goes back to the autosave part. Like, maybe that's what made it so easy. Like, if you died, there was like basically no repercussion. You would just start at that boss battle,
Yeah.
like right away. Again,
And like I feel like a lot of RPGs, at least nowadays, they have a save point usually before a boss battle.
Yeah.
So like I don't know why they couldn't have just did that.
Yeah.
Like just have a save block before the boss battle instead of auto saving every 2 seconds.
yeah.
Yeah, the auto saving is getting I don't know,
Yeah.
too much, way
Too
too
excessive,
overused.
But not just the battles. In terms of RPGs, this was incredibly linear. Like there was never a point where I thought I wasn't going the right way. Like there was almost always only one way to go.
Yeah, as far as the path, there were sometimes the annoying thing with that is sometimes you would beat some boss or whatever, and then nothing would happen. You'd get out of that sort of node, and on the main map, have to go to another node, which was another town or whatever. And like the thing would happen in another town to progress the story. So you'd beat the boss, and then like everything would just be stagnant. And I guess eventually you would just wind up going to the right town. I mean, I think a couple of times I may have like looked up which one to go to, but like obviously,
wasn't there a flag on the node in the over like the whole map screen where it was like basically this is where you're supposed to go next, like a red flag.
Oh, I noticed the flag. I just thought that was like where you were or something. I didn't realize that was like a where you have to go thing. I
think it was a where you have to go thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Oh, well, that would have made it even easier. Could
have beat the game in 10 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really easy. And another thing, like, did you notice any? Oh, yeah, there were some side quests actually. I was gonna like say that there aren't, but there are a few. They didn't always seem worth doing, but I guess because you never really felt the need to power up or level up.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, there's like no grinding in this game necessary.
Yeah, I never had to.
So you mentioned Princess Peach before, and that's important because I think that leads us to a discussion of one of the highlights of the game, which is the characters and how the story develops with those characters. Because you wind up teaming up with Bowser, so that I feel was a big fan favorite kind of a thing. Because Bowser is a fan favorite villain, and
Yeah,
then
that was cool.
yeah, now you're teaming up with him. So obviously he feels slighted because his castle's being taken over. So, that's really cool. You have Princess Peach, which is cool. You have then a couple of new characters. One which is another sort of cult fan favorite in Geno, which is essentially the star essence that goes into this toy doll and becomes Geno, uses that sort of as like a host to have an actual body, and then this cloud-like creature who thinks they're a frog for most of the game called Mallow, like marshmallow. So those are your five, and you're pretty much them throughout the entire game.
What did you think of Gino? Because like you said, he is like a fan favorite of people, and you know, we have to do it and bring up Super Smash Brothers again.
If
But
there's a Nintendo game other than Super Smash Brothers that we review, Super Smash Brothers will be also brought up.
yeah, but I remember for Ultimate, everyone was like clamoring to have Gino as one
Yeah.
as a DLC character. Or whatever.
Yeah, it was always like Geno, Dixie Kong, and like Waluigi were the people clamoring.
Yeah.
If
But
I
so-
had no if I was playing this for the first time when it was first released and didn't know about Geno from Super Smash Brothers or whatever, I would have thought nothing of it. Like,
Yeah.
I thought
Me
he was a
too.
pretty cool character though. I thought he was pretty powerful with the star moves. I liked his moves.
no, he was very useful. But
Yeah.
Yeah, in the game. Yeah, and I think I could have easily seen him being made into a character in Super Smash Brothers. Like the moves that he used in Super Mario RPG would translate well, I think.
Yeah.
But my point is, I don't know, like
you
he
didn't
wasn't,
connect, right?
yeah, like he wasn't like so charismatic or anything.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I cared
exactly.
about him.
I think that's the thing people liked about it. He was sort of the stoic, quiet character. Like, I don't know. I feel like those characters wind up standing out to certain people. Not certain. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not being coy. I'm
Not
just
any
saying.
type of
I'm
person,
yeah,
just
not
some
any
people.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, you're right. But so what I did like about talking about different characters, I did feel all of them were useful. Like it wasn't like, oh, I need to use these three. Not need to, but I want to use these three because these three are the best. Right?
Yeah.
In certain scenarios called for different characters.
They all different. Yeah, I mean it was all different. It kind of depended what you were gonna do. I personally like the Mario. Well, you had to use Mario, but the Mario Bowser Peach. Peach was great because she had this move called Group Hug that would essentially lift. I think erase all status ailments and
Heal.
heal.
Revived.
Yeah. So no, revive was a
Revive was
different
something
move.
else.
Yeah.
So she had all the like defensive magic moves, which were really useful. And then Bowser, I have to say, Bowser was great with the physical attacks. I didn't love his abilities. Like Geno was good
Yeah,
with the
same.
abilities. And then Mallow is probably the least liked character in this game, but he did have a lightning move, which I feel like a lot of enemies in this game were weak to lightning, so that sort of made him useful.
Yeah, and that hit everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
AoE
Multiple
attack.
enemies.
Right. So
So I agree with you that he was probably the least useful, but there were definitely times that called for him, and he could heal too, so that was nice.
Yeah.
right.
Honestly, for me, Mario seems like kind of the worst character. Like towards the end of the game, he was doing like so much less damage than Bowser and Geno.
Maybe you
The weapon.
didn't.
Missed the
Yeah,
weapon.
maybe you missed a weapon or didn't level him up. So
Well, he
on
would
that-
definitely be the highest level. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
No, but on that note, not just level up, but when you
Yeah.
leveled up, your stats boosted based on your level, but then you had the opportunity to decide which additional boost you want,
Right.
whether it was like,
It
what
was
was it? Health,
defense.
HP.
It was either HP, physical offense and defense, or magical offense or
Right,
defense
right.
and defense. So your physical both sides would go up. You could choose your magical both sides or your health.
Yeah, so I like that a lot. I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that added a cool element. I did
Yeah.
health a lot early on, and then I started going between the other ones.
I think I did physical most often.
Yeah, because even like I'm trying to remember what was the stat for your like MP. Do you remember what it was called?
Was it
Like it, like
PP again? Was it?
Was it MP?
I don't remember, but anyway, that stat I feel like it would drain pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, they give you a lot of the items to replenish it, but still, just like if you're able to do physical and not have
Yeah,
to worry about managing any of
exactly.
that.
But not only did you get items to replenish it, yet again, in a lot of these games, I just felt like the money was no object.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, but then you'd have to go and like buy it. I liked the thing is you did have a
So that's not hard.
you had a limited inventory.
Yeah, you had a limited inventory, but it was not,
Yeah.
the time
it wasn't
between
consequential.
one shop, and the next shop was
Yeah.
not that wide a gap. So you would never use all of them.
yeah. And there were some times during fights where you would like sometimes you would use an item and then it would say like you get a freebie or something, and it basically didn't
Yeah.
take it from your inventory. It's like,
Yeah.
Right,
And-
or
and-
you
and-
could get a boost. Like sometimes, like, oh, you pressed the button so well. Here's a boost.
yeah, it's like
And
stuff like that. Probably
Another difference, I think, was that the amount of items that you could carry was limited. But if you obtained an extra, name your favorite item, it would go to your storage box in Mario's flat in the first level, the opening scene or whatever. Now,
Yeah.
because the items were so plentiful, it didn't really matter. What I'm not sure is, I thought I read that when that item is depleted from your, in-use inventory, that it would just basically automatically come to you from the
wow.
storage box. I'm not sure if that's true, but
Oh.
nevertheless, if you were out and you had some saved up, you could just go on the map, go back to that, and pick up the item. So, another thing that made it easy, and another thing that made your resources like not a concern at all.
I can't confirm that, but I didn't once go back to the storage box.
Me
Me
neither. Me neither. I had to buy items, but I never had to.
I bought items as well.
Yeah, but I never had to go back to the storage.
And another thing I don't like is like there's never any. Or I keep talking in terms of just I feel like recent games I played, but let's just specifically talk about Mario RPG. There's never any decision to make with the armor or the weapons. It was like whenever I encountered or came across a weapon that improved my stats, I bought it. I didn't have to think about the money or anything. Like, oh, this only improves it by 1. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
Didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. What do you guys think of that whole like action ability when you do the attack?
I like it. I mean, I think it makes a turn-based RPG more interactive and more engaging.
Yeah, I guess because like I'm used to the old ones. Like I mean, no true RPG, like had that until first South Park, which was played about a year ago, maybe not even, and then now this one. So it's and honestly, I do think the Super Nintendo version did have it though. I don't think it was as like easy.
Did, yeah.
So I just
yeah.
I just don't remember it from then. But so I guess that was technically the first one that I played.
No,
but
I like the mechanic, generally speaking, but I feel like it should be for sort of a challenging game, and then that kind of, gives you that extra opportunity to kind of make a play, kind of thing.
I kind of feel like it makes it it's too easy when it's the same thing every time because you really get used to it. I almost feel like it should be like a little mini game where like maybe like a sliding ball or something in a meter and you have to stop it. Like I think
there was a good game that I played on PS2, Shadow Hearts. Like when you went to use an attack, it had a wheel that would spin around and you have to
We get the idea.
like a meter that would spin around, and when it hit certain parts, you would have to press the button.
Yeah, You're and to everyone's point, you're right. The mechanic is cool, but it should be more challenging.
Yeah.
Either that, or if you're gonna make it easy, don't make it have such a great effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, but I prefer to make it really challenging, but have an impact.
Yeah. Also, in Final Fantasy VIII, they had that with
They did?
Only
Oh,
with Squall with the gun blade.
oh,
If you
right.
press it, like it's like you're hitting the trigger on the.
Right. Oh, I kind of do remember that now. It's been a
Was that
while.
as easy as?
You definitely get used to it. Like
Yeah, okay.
it's one of those things where at first it's like hard, but then you're getting it pretty much every time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like. I mean, it added damage, but the enemies in that game aren't as squishy as in this game, so like it didn't really
Yeah.
impact as much.
So another like gameplay element that was briefly touched on before is that sort of that try attack that all three characters.
Yeah, the triple move.
Yeah. So what did you guys think of that?
Yeah, it was cool. I like the idea of having like a limit break kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was cool that the move was different based on what three characters were at.
Yeah, I like that, and the animation was really cool. With it, they were changed up based on the characters you were with. That was the one time I didn't like having Peach because I felt like it was obviously weaker attacks because she would often heal. Most of her most of her contribution to that triple attack was like a heal, at least in some groupings of characters.
Yeah, they had different effects based on whoever
Yeah,
was in
which
the
is
party.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like some of them, I think gave like a team buff, which I think involved Peach.
Yeah, well, that was so Mario, Geno, and Peach is a shining veil protects the whole party from any one attack.
But
I
yeah,
guess
and
that's-
again, it was cool. Another thing that made it easier. It was useful, very useful. Those triple
Yeah.
moves against the boss.
But
bosses.
that was like a cool addition. Like that wasn't just thrown in to make the game easier. That was
No,
actually,
you're right, and it actually it wasn't
Well, but the
super impactful. I felt.
Yeah, but the problem was that to get that meter up was to do the action like attacks or defense within the battle, and that was really easy. So that that made getting those triple moves very easy.
Yeah, and it's kind of a cascading effect.
Yeah,
If you're getting those action moves, then you're also getting the triple move a lot quicker.
yeah.
I don't know. So you guys, I assume, just kind of played the story, didn't do any post game, didn't do any of the side stuff, right?
I attempted to do the post game, but then I saw that it's really mostly just rebattling all of the bosses that you already beat in the main story. So that kind of just turned me off, and I didn't feel like I wanted to do that.
But do you
Yeah.
have to go to levels, or is it like one level with all of
think it's
them? Or
no, I think it's wherever you fought them initially. They'll just be back there, and you have to fight
Oh.
them again.
Yeah, they're scattered. Yeah. I think if you talk to people, they might give you clues as to where they are.
Oh yeah, I think the frog sage or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's kind of cool.
But did you?
Yeah,
Since
go ahead.
we're on the topic
Yeah.
of, and from what I read, Tom, it was kind of similar understanding where the bulk of the post game was refighting
Yeah.
a lot of the bosses, and I think they were maybe a little more difficult this
Yeah.
time around. But did you hear about the secret super boss?
I
Jewel?
read about it. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but it's
Tell
after
everyone.
it's
Tell
after you beat all the other ones, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like this Final Fantasy themed boss, which as
yeah.
I understand, it's not really a character that ever appeared in the game, or is it?
Nah, it kind of looked like yeah,
Yeah,
like a dark, evil
Q-
character.
Culex or something. Culex.
Mhm.
Well, I mean that's pretty cool. I mean, probably in 1996 is that when we said this game originally came out? Like that would have been really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So that was something.
Yeah, and that was something that I didn't realize that the original game was made by Square.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah,
the
makes
creative
sense.
developer
Those are
of Final
tied in,
Fantasy.
yeah.
Yeah, the big
Yeah.
RPG developer. Well, that's it. They wanted to the whole thing with like it really wasn't doing well here. That's why like 2 and 3 were skipped in the North American market initially. So I think they really wanted to try something with Mario to get it going.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe
It's
that
fun.
works.
Yeah. It's funny how RPGs are not really considered to be fun games in this side of the world
Wow.
at that time.
Yeah, at that time. All right, let's take a quick break. All right, for this week's mid-episode filler Would You Rather question, we'll be asking a pretty basic question based on today's game, Super Mario RPG. And we are asking, who is your favorite of these three characters? Geno, Peach, or Bowser? Which one would you take with you on a mission as Mario to fight Smithy and defeat his gang? Let us know what you think on our social media accounts, X and Instagram at Bros Boss Battles. That's BROS Boss Battles. Our website, brothersandbossbattles.com, or wherever you get this podcast. All right, back to the regular show. All right, we're back at the regular show, and we've been discussing Super Mario RPG, and I just wanted to point out one thing before we discuss any more, but the mode that we've been talking about is the normal mode, as far as gameplay is concerned. But the one on Switch has a Breezy mode, and I don't know how this can get any easier unless there's like no way you just kind of want to see all the levels and characters and the story, and like there's literally no way you could lose any battle.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a little laughable that they had to add, like, felt like they had to add this to the game. Yeah, I understand if people kind of like a more leisurely and casual gaming experience, but I feel like that was the normal mode.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. Or and what they should have did was add a hard mode.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
I think you gotta understand that, like, especially with Switch and nowadays, like, there are 5-year-olds playing Switch and
Yeah.
6-year-olds, you know? For a game like this, for them, is going to be probably a little more difficult. They don't know about, like, using items and
Yeah.
using magic or, like, special attacks or whatever. So, having that Breezy mode where I didn't read up on it, but I'm assuming you probably, like, can't die or something.
I don't know, but I just probably if it's easier than the normal mode.
Yeah, so I mean, they probably put it in for young
for them.
kids to enjoy the game. That would be my assumption. Because yeah, I don't see how any like competent
Adult.
teenager or adult would be unable to complete this game.
Yeah, on normal mode, yeah.
Right.
So I think yeah, go ahead.
I want to say something because we're talking a lot about how easy it is, and I think we're kind of describing the game as being lackluster. But there are a lot of kind of hidden things that, you know, and some side missions and stuff that none of us really did or felt motivated to do, but other people might feel differently. You know, like they had those hidden treasure chests.
Right, throughout the game, yeah.
Throughout the game, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's not
So
that
people,
fun,
you know,
though.
that's not. I don't find it fun, but some people might. I don't know.
Yeah. And
And you do get an item. You do get an item, I think, at some point where it's kind of like a radar almost.
Yeah, very early on. Yeah.
Yeah. You get it earlier. I think that was
Yeah.
another change. You get
Right.
it earlier in the remake than in the original.
Otherwise, you would just have to kind of jump around and hope you hit one. But it was cool though because it had sort of that Mario feel of jumping up and hitting a block and getting an item from it. So that was cool.
Yeah. Actually, since we're on the subject, another thing that they made easier was to get all these because there's like an infamous kind of first chest in the original, hidden treasure chest that you could only get at the beginning of the game because you have to like jump on Toad's head, I think. And then once something happens in the story, he moves away. But in the remake, there are other like NPCs that'll kind of walk in that area, so you could always go back to get that chest if you miss it the first time.
So we kind of often do like our favorites, least favorites, but just as far as like the levels, I think it would be cool to discuss like standout levels, one way or the other.
And I don't know if this is cheating, but my favorite was at the end with the 6-door challenge.
Yes,
Where you had to complete 4 of the 6 doors, and there were 3 possibilities, like an action sequence, I guess, like platforming, a battle sequence where you had a number of battles, or a puzzle.
Right.
So there were 6 doors in total, and then of those 3 options, there's obviously 2 each.
Right. So you
But
had to do
you didn't know which door led to which.
Yeah. I guess theoretically, there would be one whole category you didn't have to do.
Yeah.
I remember I tried it out. One of the puzzle ones, I think, was it was sort of like a maze, and I couldn't figure it out. So
A
I just went.
maze? Because I did both of the puzzle ones,
No, I don't. I don't.
and it was
I think
quite
that
fun.
was. Yeah, I think the battles were the easiest. I feel.
Yeah. Can you remind the puzzles?
Yeah, so the first one that I did was there was like three for each door, right? So the first
Yeah.
puzzle in the first door was like the quiz about the game, I think, which is
Yeah.
the hardest one.
Yeah.
She was paying attention to anything.
Yeah, and then the other one was like there was like a couple of rooms where you had to count the barrels.
Oh,
Do you remember that
yeah.
one? And like they were kind of it was like 3 dimensional, obviously, and some were hidden behind others. So like,
Yeah,
that was kinda
that
fun.
one I did too. Yeah.
And then there was kind of like almost like a word problem in math class in grade school where like there was a race and like the Goomba was like, "Oh, I finished ahead of the paratrooper," and then the paratrooper would say, "I did not come in first," whatever
Yeah,
hints
yeah,
they
yeah.
gave, and then based on what they were saying, you had to put them in order. So that was the first door, and then the second
Wait,
puzzle.
that was the barrel one.
Yes,
Okay, right. And
the middle
second,
puzzle was when you had to count the barrels.
right, right. And then the first puzzle one was that where you had to jump on the green switches, or is that the part of the one you're talking about?
No, so I'll repeat myself real quick for those who weren't paying attention. In this door, the first puzzle, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the same in everyone's game. The first puzzle was like the game quiz, where you had to get like you had to go up 7 levels, but if you got one right, you went up, and if you got one wrong, you went down a level. Then the second puzzle was the count the barrels, and I think there was maybe 2 or 3 count the barrels, but that was counts as one. And then there was that word problem thing that I was talking about, where you have to order the characters and how they finish the race.
Oh, right. That was one. Then the second one was the one with the green switches and the
Yes.
chomps that you had to like jump like
Yes,
like checkers almost.
yeah,
That one I definitely did. The one, yeah.
Yeah, and then just the first puzzle in that group of 3 was you had to avoid getting the 21st coin.
Right.
So it was basically like
it's like
you could choose, what was it, 1 through 4 or 1 through 5 coins, and you would alternate between you and I forget what character it was, but you had to avoid being caught, being forced to get the 21st coin.
Reminds me of a Mario Party mini game where it's like there's the
Yeah, it could
beehive and
be.
you gotta
Yeah.
like not. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That one
I
didn't do.
oh, okay. That was the
Yeah.
more fun one. The Switch one where you had to lower all the switches. Like basically if you would lower a switch, I think it's like a button on the floor basically. Any adjacent switch would kind of change position. So if it was suppressed, it would pop back up, and if it was up, it would go down, and you had to get all of them down, I guess. But I thought you had to get all of them up. So I kept trying to do that, and I was like left with 3 always. But then it didn't really make sense because there was always going to be one that is down, the one that you jump on.
Yeah.
And then once I realized, you have to get them all down, I finished it in like, 30 seconds.
Yeah. The maze I was talking about, the 3D maze in the sunken ship level of this game. It's just like you can't see your character and like but you have to move them throughout this maze, this 3D maze. Like they're in it.
I know what you're talking about.
I don't think
that
you
was
had-
annoying.
I don't. You didn't. That was like for something special though, right? I don't think you had to beat that. I don't recall beating it. So that's.
I don't remember what was at the end of that or if you had to do that, but that was quite annoying.
Yeah, that was. And I like the just because of the look of it and sort of it was kind of a big story point. I like the Nimbus land where like Malo was actually from, and it's like his sister was basically trying to take over the kingdom, and you kind of like liberate all the fellow cloud people from that. I thought that was cool. And that's also there's sort of like a little mini thing. You have to like sneak into the castle. So she you have to jump when the pet
Bodyguard,
like crow or whatever is gonna like peck you. That's like who she's pretending who her brother is, just so she can like sort of like act as if the brother's perfectly fine with her taking over.
Right, right. Yeah, that whole sequence is kind of a puzzle because you have to go to like the sculptor's shop or whatever,
Yeah,
and then you kind of get turned into a sculptor or something, or look, you get like
sculpture.
gold plate sculpture.
Yeah,
You get like
yeah,
gold plated or whatever.
yeah, yeah. So that was the that stood out to me. But I also did like that the part with the six doors and you have to beat four of them. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think those two in particular were the standouts of the game. Like the Nimbus Land was really like the most memorable
Yeah.
level, that like comprehensive level for me.
Do you guys have any least favorites? Because for me, I didn't like the sewers, the Kero sewers. I think that was near the beginning, right? Like
Yeah.
relatively early, maybe the middle. But
Well,
I kind of got a lot. To contradict what I said earlier, I did get lost a little bit there, where I was going in circles a couple of times. I think. So
yeah.
that was like there was like a bunch of the green pipes and
Right. There was also the because you fight Belome, right, or Bellamy or whatever his name is. That it's like that cat-like creature with like the multiple eyes on. Um,
Yeah,
and then you face him later on, and it's tough too because you have to kind of do a certain thing to make him appear. Like you have to go a certain route. So that was
there's the one where you have to like go into these I guess little like whirlpools,
yeah.
like sand,
Right.
yeah,
sand quicksands or something.
That wasn't too difficult because you had to go into the one where the character kept popping out of.
Yeah,
You
I
had to
didn't
catch
realize
him.
that. Like, I
Oh.
was like trying to like jump on them and like,
Nah, there's a clue. Someone says something. Like if
yeah.
you talk, yeah.
Yeah.
That didn't give me any trouble other than like executing because sometimes he would pop up pretty fast and I would get like sucked into the wrong um quicksand trap or whatever you want to call it.
There was also this part right when it was kind of like I don't know, it also reminded me of like Rainbow Road or something, but like you had to like there was all these different like stars or wishes or whatever. And, do you remember that? I'm
yeah,
trying.
yeah. You have to open. You have to walk up to them and press A to make them open.
Yeah, and you had to do that for like all of them.
All of them, yeah, to open up like the main one that let you progress
Yeah.
further into the map.
I assume nobody had a problem with that, right?
Nah.
Yeah, that's quite easy. Okay.
What
It's
do you
just
think
something that
about
stood out to me.
just
I thought that
about
was memorable.
other just aspects of the game, sound, music? What did you guys
I
think?
thought the music was really good. They had like, some of these kind of big orchestral arrangements and stuff, so that was cool.
And I had all the Mario sounds. Of course, no actual voice acting.
Well, it's a Nintendo after all.
Yeah, yeah. So just the text boxes, but it was cool, and it had like cheeky humor. I feel.
Yeah, there was some
Yeah.
funny stuff. It wasn't like totally corny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I laughed. I think it was like one of the moles maybe in the mine or something. And he was like, "Well, I'll be a Goomba's uncle." I just found that funny, that line. And then somebody, I didn't know who, somebody says, "Give him heck." So
Oh yeah, yeah.
I found that to be pretty funny as well.
Does he actually say heck?
Yes, he says heck.
Oh, okay.
Remember, there are 5-year-olds playing this game. So.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure there are.
Yeah, no,
So you asked about, I don't know. It just reminds me of a game that is intended for children, like just with
Yeah.
the visuals and sort of like even like just the animations of the characters in sort of like
the cutscenes.
yeah, and they're not really cutscenes.
Yeah.
They're still kind of on the map, but yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I was saying before. They were all just kind of like very stiff.
what the characters?
Well, like the animations, like for
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the cutscenes.
Well, when I say cutscenes, I'm thinking of the triple attack move. But yeah,
Those were cool. Those are
Well,
actually
yeah,
like,
those-
well produced.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just like when like we have like Mario gets knocked back or Gino gets knocked back or something, and it's just like
Yeah,
It
they
just
just
looks-
move. They just
yeah.
move the character model back without
Yeah.
actually animating it.
yeah, yeah.
I wonder if that was more just trying to be like old fashioned RPGs though. Like back in the SNES days, I don't think this would have been as big a criticism.
Yeah. Well, then
Yeah.
don't remake the game then. And
Yeah,
It did look a
exactly.
lot brighter because I
And
looked
it-
at old.
yeah, no, it did. It
It looked
definitely
a lot.
did. Yeah. No, of course. The graphics themselves were so crisp, but
Yeah.
If you're gonna charge $60 for a game,
Yeah.
US pricing.
You
Plus,
expect more.
because we're a global show here.
Yes, we must specify that.
Yes.
Uh, but
But
yeah,
yeah, they should put more effort into making the game if they're going to charge full price for it.
yeah, I kind of
Did
feel
you
it
do?
is. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's because we are talking about music. Did you do anything with that tadpole pond music
Well,
puzzle?
yeah, I was gonna say that was a kind of a fun puzzle where you had to do like piano sort of notes on these tadpoles in the pond with Toadchowski or whatever his name was.
Yeah. Wait. So what was it? So you heard a tune basically, and then you had
Yeah,
to play it
yes,
out, and like the tadpoles would go on different notes
like
basically, and you
yeah,
had to.
staff notes basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'd have to stop them at the right time, and then at the end, once you play it correctly, I don't know, you get something from that frog sage.
Yeah, you get some items.
Yeah, frog coins are another thing in this game where you
Yeah, I want to bring that up.
yeah.
I like totally disregarded them, never used them or cared about them. I don't know how you guys felt.
Well, no, I mean, I like, it's funny. It's like when you got a frog coin, it was like cool. Like you felt like it was like something special, but you really, what'd you do? You could buy like some items with them, right?
Yeah, and I don't think the items were that great.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was like some like obviously exclusive stuff, I guess, that you could only buy with that.
Yeah, but they basically kind of healed or did something like that. It wasn't like you could buy Mario's best armor or something, right? Like it wasn't like those
Yeah, I
kind
don't
of
think so.
items with the frog coins. So,
It was just a cool little side. Like that was a side thing that I did do because that was pretty early on, and I thought that was fun.
yeah, I didn't do that. I thought Aunt you might do it.
Yeah,
You like those musical things?
yeah. It wasn't math, so you didn't do it.
Yeah, I had some other puzzles noted down. Did you? I think this was optional, but did you do in the booster tower the portraits of Booster? I guess it was, and you had to like arrange them by age, but it was so hard to tell.
Oh,
And
Yeah,
apparently those portraits appeared in the correct order in a different room or whatever, which I didn't notice. So I was just trying to look at the crummy pictures and order them by age. And when you failed, you would just kind of start over, and eventually I got it. I think that was optional though. I don't think that wasn't necessary.
I don't recall doing that, so it must have
Oh,
been.
okay.
Um, yeah, I do like that part with Booster where he has the Shy Guys sort of like looking at you, trying to find you in behind the curtains, and you just have to move behind
yeah.
It's super easy,
Yeah.
but it's like it was funny.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, I didn't fail on it, but I could see someone failing on it.
Yeah,
Me too. I was a little nervous during that
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah,
I
that was a
felt
good
like
part.
the
That was
last
fun.
one was gonna be hard, but that was fun. Booster, was he like a predecessor to Wario? I mean, he kind of looks like. Actually, I think Wario was already out at that point, but
Yeah, I don't know.
kind of looks like him.
There were other little things to do, kind of post game or side quests. I think it was like these 3 flags hidden somewhere. I don't know if you came across that at all, but so that does something. We mentioned getting all the hidden chests. People are into that stuff.
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
if
it
even
definitely
if we
had
were.
those. Had some replay value.
Yeah, another thing I read was like if you get with Mario's super jump, you could basically just keep jumping and jumping until you kind of didn't time it right.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, so if you
I
get a
did
hundred,
that. Yeah.
if you get 100 streak, which was hard, I never did that.
Yeah, I never got close to that.
Then you could go to some character in the game,
Yeah,
and
the
he'll give
monster
you.
place. I think it was a Goomba.
Oh, okay.
Because
And
I guess 100 is the max, but like
Oh, is that right?
he gives you, or I mean, from like the highest one that you need to get for this
Oh,
guy to
yes,
give you
yes.
something, but he gives you stuff at other lower levels too.
oh, okay.
That's cool.
Like one I think was like, I don't know, maybe 30 or something.
Did you get it?
I talked to him once and got
Oh.
one item.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I never got up to whatever the bottom threshold was.
Or maybe you did and just didn't talk to him after
Yeah.
you did that. I don't know.
Oh, you had it. It didn't just automatically take you
No,
there.
you gotta
No,
go.
no.
Oh, where do you have to go?
in Monstro Town, I think it was. You said.
Oh,
Yeah.
Monster Town, yeah. That level, speaking of that, had one of the parts that was confusing, sort of like old-fashioned RPG, where you had to get the key off the ledge, and you basically had to do that by talking to the thwomp in one of the rooms a bunch of times. So, because each time you talk to him, he would, bash down, and
Thwomp.
then, yeah, and then that would
Yeah.
eventually make the key fall.
Yeah, and that took me a little bit to figure out.
Yeah, I don't like when it's really secretive. It's just like it
Well,
didn't seem obvious that like the key moved when he did it once or twice. So that could have been one
the
thing. Where
key does move, but
yeah,
you're right. Maybe it wasn't like if he only did it once and you went back
Yeah.
outside, you maybe wouldn't notice
well,
that
that's
it
yeah,
moved.
exactly.
Yeah. And there was also this mini game called Beatlemania mini game. So at some point you could like there's this kid playing Game Boy, basically a handheld device, and then I guess if you talk to him after a certain goal is met, he'll give it to you, and you could play that at any point you want. I think from the pause screen or something.
Hmm. Oh, you
So that's
could
kinda
play
cool.
the actual game?
I didn't do it. I was just reading up on
Oh.
this after. But yes,
Oh.
you play the actual
Whatever
Game.
Beatlemania was.
yeah. And Great Guy, one of the bosses, he has this secret casino, and you could play some mini games there and get some items.
Yeah.
So there's a lot
Yeah.
of
Fair
little-
amount of content.
little extra content.
Yeah, I wish it would have been a little bit more obvious how to get those, but they didn't seem to
Yeah.
talk about it much. Like usually in
Yeah.
these games, the townspeople would mention the lore or legend or something, and that would sort of clue you in that okay, this is something I could do. It's like actually real, but I don't know. I didn't come across that much.
Yeah, I think maybe you had to like revisit towns or
Yeah,
areas that you already went to, and then but there was no actual reason to do that most
right.
of the time.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah, I
like, at
very
random
rare-
points.
Well,
Yeah,
'cause-
at random points in the game, you just have to like go back and see if anything new pops up.
Yeah.
I guess if you're sort of doing a completionist run, you would do that, but they were never, like we've said many times, there wasn't really an incentive to get a super powerful weapon there. Like those things should, and it just seems like they didn't want to make any part of the game hard, even like those levels. Other than that character Jinx that you have to face, that like little, like looks like a sprout or something
Yeah,
in the dojo, and like he's really tough, and I think I don't know, he's hard to beat, and you could keep fighting him, and I
yeah.
don't know. I think
I beat him once, and
yeah,
then,
me too.
yeah. Then he,
Kicked your
Yeah.
butt.
yeah. Then I never went back to fight him, like before I fought the final boss.
Mm.
And I think there's an even harder one after
Yeah,
you beat the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could even if something as simple as like, oh, come back when you get two more star pieces, and I'll give you an item. It'll just make you go back there. At least there was like none
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there was some of that where you go back and get the item, but there was no clue as to once you do this, come back, and
Yeah. But I think the highlight still is that, they, even though the story's contrived, they did make it where you kind of want to play Bowser and can play Bowser, and that was a big hit. So, kudos for that.
yeah,
Definitely wasn't
that-
bad. It's cool to see Mario in a different light as far as type of game, and that was another big, I think, impetus for this game to be made initially.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, the thing is, the characters, I agree, are one of the highlights of the game, but there are only 5.
Yeah,
Maybe if there were a few more, it would have been cooler. Or
easier. If you,
no, but maybe you kind of had to pick 5.
yeah.
5 out of the 8 to
Right.
bring along with you or something.
Yeah, and then there's NPCs and the Toad. You have the whole Toadstool Kingdom, and there's kind of little side things with that, with the couple that wants to get married, and you have to clear some enemies, and then they're able to get married. I actually don't even know that's a side thing. I think it's just a part of the side.
I think that's a
stories.
part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that and Malo, obviously trying to he joins you very early because the Croco steals a frog coin from him, but then that becomes a recurring theme throughout. And then obviously you get to help Malo see who he really is, and that he's not a frog, and he belongs, basically as the leader of this Nimbus land. So, there's all those kind of like everyone's story is important, not just
Yeah.
Mario's.
Yeah, like you said, the story is a little whatever you want to say, but it really wasn't bad. At least there was something to it, and
Yeah, and
there's
it
some
was
meaning to it.
right, and it allowed the other character stories to come forth too, which is cool.
I like when you have to go back to that land of wishes and then you can like read them, and they pertain to characters that you've met throughout the story, which was just like a nice kind of throwback.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. I don't know if I was mixing up two parts of the game.
You have to go there once, initially, and then when you go back again, I think you see all the wishes from people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're allowed to. Because I think that's what the Star Bridge was able to do, allow people like dreams to be heard.
Yeah.
That was that. So when it was destroyed, you couldn't see them, but then you can once it's back. So it's nice little. If I wanted to be nice, you say it's a nice, accessible RPG with great iconic characters. If you want to be mean, you say it's baby's first RPG.
Is that your final thoughts?
Yeah, but speaking of those, why don't we get to them?
Okay, yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
Like this game isn't a horrible game. Like if I was stranded on an island and I only had this game, like it would keep me entertained. And we're kind of talking about all the extra things that there are to do that we weren't necessarily motivated to do. But it's a fun little game. But in the real world, where there's the opportunity cost of the time of playing this game versus playing another game or doing something else that's fun, I just felt like I didn't want to be playing this game. So, with that being said, I'm not going to recommend at least the Mario RPG remake. Never played the original, so I can't speak to that.
Yeah, I'll go next, and I guess that kind of was part of my final thoughts. I'll say this: I feel this game has sort of become a part of history. It does have a lot of followers. It has a cool story, has cool characters. It's a little too easy. I mean, that's really the problem. But because of that, you're not going to sink a ton of time and effort into it. And I just think it's a big part of gaming lore. So I'll give it a recommend. It's good. It's just it's not great. Tom?
All right, I'll go next. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I find this game very average. I enjoyed playing it. It wasn't bad. But having said that, I just can't justify spending $60 for a game like this. That money could be spent on so many other better games. So my recommendation is to either, I don't know, borrow this from a friend or get it on sale, or if you're able to play the SNES version for free through some kind of
SNES Mini?
SNES Mini that you may already have, because that was cool. I don't know how else you would play the game for free.
Had it on the SNES, and you still have it, and your SNES.
Yeah, that would be the only other option I could think of.
Yeah, there's no such thing as emulating.
And if there was, I would not condone it. But yeah, so if you can do that, I would say play it. It's you'll find some enjoyment there.
There you have it, Super Mario RPG. Thank you all for listening. Catch us on our Instagram and X accounts at Bros Boss Battles. That's BROS Boss Battles. On our website, brothersandbossbattles.com. Sometimes on Twitch at Bros Boss Battles, and on YouTube. Next week, we'll be doing our third and final game of the Nintendo RPG category, to be followed the following episode by our Brodown episode. We hope that you're listening at that time too. Until then, take care.